Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Gleason. This is PowerApps 101. In this class, we'll be going over building a help desk app in the PowerApps suite, and through building it, we will expose you guys to a lot of the features and capabilities that are present in the PowerApps suite, and it'll hopefully give you some ideas of what you can use it for. Without further ado, I think we should just get right into it. So here is PowerApps in all its glory in Office 365. We have many different, data sources we can start from. I usually like to start from a blank app. That's just my personal preference. And then I just add data sources as we go. You can see some of the apps that I've made down here. And just to give you an idea of what you can do with it, I've got some inventory apps that we use to store all of our inventory in and track it. We also have a help desk app down here, which is what we're going to be building today, and then some volunteer application apps for HR. So that's just some ideas. I've built some barcode scanners as well, but we'll be building a help desk app today. So let's just go to apps, and then we want to hit new app, and we're going to do a Canvas app. And then down here where it says blank app is where we're going to be starting. You could do phone layout if you want, but I prefer to do tablet apps. It gives you more space to work with. I think it'll be better for this demonstration anyway. So here we are in the Power App Builder. As you can see, there's a lot going on here. We have a lot of different tools and tabs. So over here is the tree view. This is very important. This will be a breakdown of pretty much every screen that we add to the app, and under every screen will be all the elements that we've added to it. So that'll be really useful for finding things like forms and stuff like that later on. And other elements that you might hide, it'd be impossible for you to see normally, you could find them in this tree here. Up here is the formula bar. Over here on the left-hand side, you type in the attribute of the element you have selected. So let's just create an element right now. We'll do a rectangle. It's my favorite to start every single app with, as a good old-fashioned rectangle. And why I do it is so that I can make a nav bar. So there we go. We have a nav bar, and we're going to add. We'll click on it right now. I'll just show you this formula thing here. So you can do pretty much anything you want right now. So you can do fill. So this is the background color of it. I'm going to cut that color there so that I have it for later. But let's just type in pink. So there we go. Now it's pink. You can use RGBA. I don't know any of the RGBA color schemes off the top of my head, so we'll just type in pink. They do have a few colors, like you can see one right here is white. It's just default colors. They also have gray and blue and green and all that, but they don't have more complex colors. You'll have to actually use a color picker to get the RGBA for that. But anyway, going back into it, we're gonna get some more icons here just to flesh out the bar up here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this back arrow, or arrow left rather, and I'm going to put it there, and then I'm going to go to color here, change that to white, because white on blue is very soothing to me. I like that kind of color scheme. So there we go, but it has no functionality yet, so let's go to on select, which is another attribute, and change that from false to exit, the exit function. And that'll just exit from the app if somebody clicks on that button. So think of it as the exit button, right? Let's add a label now. So under text here, you can do labels, or you can just click the label button. I don't know why they have it in two different places. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's just easier for some people. So you can see there's a snaps there. We'll snap it right into the center of this rectangle. And then we're going to go to, we'll change the text to ACPE Help Desk App. There we go. We'll probably want to elongate this box a little bit, because when we do the font weight and stuff, it'll get a bit bigger. So we're going to do text align. Oh, actually, it's not text align, it's align in this. And we're going to set that to center. Perfect. Font weight. And we'll set that to bold color. This is one that you'll see a lot. We'll set that to white, and then size. That's the text size. We'll set that to 24. That's a good header size. Perfect. All right, so now we have the ACPE Help Desk app header there. We can now do the next component, which is going to be an icon, and it'll be the add button. We'll just throw that over there. And we'll set the color to white. Perfect. We're going to add an on select functionality of navigate. And it's going to navigate to a screen that doesn't exist yet. So actually, before we finish this functionality, let's go into this component, this little part here that I forgot to do. So we're going to rename this screen from screen 1 to home, because it's not very intuitive. And then we're going to hit new screen up here and add a blank screen. And we're going to rename this screen create a ticket, or create ticket rather. There we go. And then I'll add one more screen for later, and this will be edit ticket. Edit ticket. Perfect. Another thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click on the app here, which is essentially the whole app. So when the app starts, you can do things, or like you can see here, confirm exit message, all that stuff, if you wanted to get into that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to first head over to this view button over here. This is very important. Click on data sources and hit add data. Now, maybe not that button. I'm going to click on this button. Okay, they do the same thing. Never mind. And we're going to hit connectors down here. And what we want to do is we want to search for SQL Server. Now, that's just the server that I'm storing everything on. So it would be different for you unless you're using SQL Server as well. But for me, it's going to be SQL Server. So I'm going to use the test help desk data set. Perfect. A little bit kind of weird flashiness there. That was weird. And then we'll add also Office 365 users. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I don't know why it shows two of the same user. All right. So there we go. Now we have Office 365 users and the test help desk SQL Server connection to our SQL Server. So just a little heads up, for SQL Server, that's hosted for us on-prem. We had to use an SQL Server gateway, or Microsoft calls it an on-premises gateway, to connect Office 365 to our internal network. So you will have to set that up. It's not super difficult, but I would highly recommend setting it up with a service account and not one of your own accounts. So we're going to go back to app here, and then on start, we're going to do we're going to set a variable to what do I call it? Current user, and we're going to set that equal to Office 365 users dot my profile. Let's do my profile v2 because it sounds fancier. Dot, close the function, by the way. We want display name. There it is, display name. Perfect. So what that's going to do is when the app starts, it's going to set the current user equal to the display name of the Office 365 account that's logged in. So it would be, in my case, it would be Jake Gleason. Now, it won't display Jake Gleason for me because it requires that the app is starting for this variable to be captured. So for me, it'll be an empty string. But as soon as you restart the app, it'll populate. So it'll always work in the future. It just won't work in this situation right now. Now that we've finished with that, we're going to come over here and finish this little formula here. You'll notice this little error sign. That's kind of handy to pick up on when you've made a mistake and you need to fix something. So we're going to do navigate, and we're going to set that to create ticket. There we go. And we want the second part of this function is going to be a transition you can pass with it. So we're going to put fade just because it's kind of fancy. You'll be required to do this. It's new form function, and you'll want to put form 1 in there. Right now this won't do anything, and it'll actually prevent this button from even functioning properly. If you hold down Alt, it'll go into like user mode where you can actually like click on things and stuff like that without like selecting them. You'll notice that the button doesn't work. The reason for that is because new form 1 can't actually execute because form 1 doesn't exist. But we'll be adding form 1 into create a ticket. So we're going to go over here into the tree section again, and we're going to click on create a ticket, and we'll build form 1. But first, let's copy this bar here and put it in there. And I'll also copy the header just because it's formatted. There we go. And you'll notice when you paste it in, it pastes it in the exact location that it was in the previous screen, which is very handy. So what we're going to do is change this to create ticket. Oh, ticket. There we go. And I'm going to create a form. So we're going to go over here to insert, and then we're going to go to forms, and we're going to create an edit form. Now it's not connected to any data, so we're going to have to do that. So we will hit connect to data, the little purple button there. We'll select the test server here. Why is it not connecting? Come on. Interesting. All right. So we'll hit connect to data. This will pop up over here, but if you notice when you click on it, it doesn't seem to work. I'm not sure why. We'll go over here to where it says, that was my dog ringing a bell that I taught her how to ring. I'll let her outside in a second here. Click data source, test database. Test help desk right here, and then we'll add some fields. I'm going to pause the video right now. I'm gonna go let my dog out. All right, I have let my dog out. Who let the dogs out? It was me, apparently. So we're gonna add a new field here, and so this is where we add columns from the database into the app, namely this form here, so that it knows exactly what's being submitted to the database. So you don't have to include everything. I'm going to do additional users, affected user. We'll do the email, created by name. We'll do priority. And we'll do school facility. There could be a lot more in here. We'll also do issue, sorry, because that's the title of the ticket. We want to do that. And then there's one other thing we have to include is the primary ID. You have to have the primary ID of your table included if you're using SQL Server, at least. Maybe not the common data service. I haven't used it in a while, so I'm not entirely sure. But for a SQL Server database, you have to have it set up very specifically to work with PowerApps. In this case, I have the table test help desk. Primary ID is the primary key of the table, but it is also set up as an identity specification, which allows it to increment when it creates a new row automatically when data is inserted. So that's really important. You have to set up a column with the primary ID. It doesn't have to be called primary ID. It can be called ID or whatever you want to call it, right? But it has to be there. So, and it also has to be in our form. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make that invisible in general because that doesn't need to be touched at all. No value has to be passed. It just has to be present. So we're going to put the form here, and I'm just going to show you kind of how you can do this. It's definitely easier, but it doesn't look as good in my opinion. So you can just set it up so that it does this, and this will work fine. Like you start the app here. Oh, right. There's no form. Okay, so before we get into messing with this form anymore, let's go back to the tree view over here and go back to home. And then we're going to go into the view, the user view kind of thing here. And then we're going to click on this plus. Now you'll notice it actually worked that time. It's because there was a form 1 existing. So now it's created form 1. This is actually displaying here. You can type anything you want into these fields here, and it would successfully submit to the database after you hit the submit button, if there was a submit button, which we haven't created yet, but we'll create one. I'm not going to do it this way though. I'll show you a different way to do it because I think it looks better the way that I do it. We're also going to set this down to 1 column so that it's easier to read. All right, there we go. And we'll just shove it down there because it doesn't matter where it is. So we're going to create a label, put it right there. And for this label, we're going to call it affected, or we'll call it issue. We're going to create a label and we're going to call it issue. There we go, like that. And then I'm going to change the font weight to semi-bold. Perfect. I must have spelt it wrong. I didn't see it. I'm sure you guys will catch it on the video. Size is going to be 16. How does 18 look? Oh yes, 18 is the perfect size for this. And I'm going to extend it just a smidge. All right. Next, we're going to go to input and we're going to do a text input. Now you'll notice that the corners on this are rounded. I don't really like rounded corners. I like these square corners like this form down here has. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up into the attribute bar and I'm going to type in radius, bottom left. It'll automatically default to that. You just set the radius equal to 0, but then you have to do it for each corner. So bottom right. Oop. It's tricking me. And then you go top left, top right. So let's just get that done right now. And that'll make it square. Perfect, just like me, a square. Let's get rid of this default text here, and then we're gonna put in some hint text here. We're gonna say add, or issue of the user. And then we're going to put in an ellipsis because everyone likes ellipses, I guess. We're going to set the max length of this to be, let's say, a considerate 120 characters because we don't need to know more than that. The issue is not where they're going to be putting the primary details anyways. It's just going to be a description of the issue that the person's having, rather. The problem's having. So next, we're not going to create another label. I'm all snickery now. I'm going to extend this to I'm actually going to match the length of this text box here. Perfect. And we're going to copy this and paste it down here. And we're just going to, change the text in it because it's set up already. So we'll do additional details. I'm trying to make this kind of cover all of the ways that you might have to use this system here for this specific thing. There may be other ones that are exactly like issue where it's just, like just a text box. But let's go into a text area now. But it's not called a text area here. It's called a multi-line. So over here in the full attribute list of the text box that we're using right now, you'll notice it says mode single line. Let's set it to mode multi-line. Mode password's pretty cool too. It kind of just hides all the details of the thing. I think it adds a little I as well to reveal it, but I haven't checked for a while. So max length, let's set that to a considerate 500 characters. And we're going to want to change the hint text from issue of the user to additional. I spelled additional wrong. Might have spelled it wrong again. I don't know. I suck at spelling. Okay, so here we go. We have our text area now, and we're going to change the input name of it. We're going to change this to additional. Oh, no spaces. Databases hate spaces. And for this input up here, we're going to call it issue. I'll just call it what the text box is for now. You can have your own naming scheme if you like. So next, we're going to do the affected user email, but I think we should do affected user first, actually. So we'll put it, we'll just put it over here because there's plenty of space. Affected user. And then we can copy and paste that. Oop, what did I do up here? There we go. Copy and paste that. put this down here, and we'll just add email to the end of it. Okay. So the affected user is going to be very similar to the affected user is going to be very similar to the issue, and so is the affected user email. I just had to include them for the test. Affected user. All right, and then copy that and paste it. Then you can just take off. You'll notice that it automatically increments it. So if you copy it, it'll do that so that it doesn't match it exactly, which is kind of nice. It doesn't say, there's already one of those that exist. Problems. Perfect. So there's our two new boxes there. We'll connect them up to this at the end, so you don't have to worry about that. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add, we got the email. Oh, I'll show you how to do this part here before we move on to the next one, because it's pretty easy to do. So inside the form for created by name, we don't even want to give the person who's creating it an option to change this. So what we're going to do is go to advanced on this data card. Remember to choose this. So choose the data card input. Remember that. So there's like the data card here. Then there's the created by name, which is the label inside of it. So there's like 3 or 4 elements inside of a data card. Choose the input for it, hit advanced, and then unlock it, hitting the padlock. Under the default value, we want to put current user. And that'll put whoever's currently logged in will be the person who is inside there. And nobody will be able to change that. So we'll always know who created what ticket accurately. Help desk priority. We'll worry about that when we get to it, because I don't want to do that one next. We'll do school facility because it fits more in line with the user, right? So we'll just call it school in this case. It's better. And for this, we're not going to want a text input because people might spell the school name wrong or differently from other people. So we're going to want to do a drop down, and that is here under input. So we'll put our drop down here. Make sure it's this proper size. Under items for drop down, you're going to want to do an array. And I'll expand this so that you can see it. We'll do, let's see here. I think I was doing apple wood, elementary. Put a comma to delimit them. Cherry wood, middle, and we'll do sagewood high. Oops. There we go. Just some tree school names. All right. Now I'll show you something else here that's pretty cool. For the default value of dropdowns, you can put a default value inside this attribute bar over here. You can actually type in default up here into the attribute bar. There we go. It says it defaults as 1. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to pick the first one. It always defaults as the first one. 1 means it'll default as the value 1. So and for this one, we'll just default as, to show it off, we'll do cherrywood middle, because we'll assume most tickets come from cherrywood middle, I guess, for some reason. So now it's defaulting as cherrywood middle, and it'll always do that. It doesn't mean that will always choose that value. Like when it's submitted, it'll choose whichever one's selected. But when you get to the screen, it'll default as cherrywood middle. All right, cool. So let's add the next fields. We need priority, and I think that'll do it. So let's copy this, paste it, put it over here. Priority. And then we're going to do another drop down. And this is actually more where that default value thing would be useful, right? Because then you can put a default value for your array here of priority. Obviously, you don't want to default it ASAP. That'll drive people crazy. But like low medium, high, and we'll do ASAP for like, oh my God, my computer's on fire. Yeah, people would want ASAP for that one. We'll put in default as medium. We assume that everyone's the IUM issue is equally important. The low value ones would probably be in like ordering a part, right, or something like that. You can't really do too much about it. All right, so now we got to connect these boxes up. I forgot to name these two drop downs, so we'll name this one priority. And oh boy, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Let me fix that. There we go. Yeah, did I spell it wrong in here too? No, I spelled it right. Okay, good. Sorry. Let's see here. Affected user. All right, drop down. School. Cool. So now we can go in here. You'll notice I say so a lot. I've noticed that too. Sorry, everyone. You can click on the input there, and then you click on the padlock after you go into advanced, and that'll unlock it. And then for additional details, we'll just want to do additional details dot text. That's pretty important because data types matter a lot of the time, especially if you've got them set up inside your database as something other than a varchar. It might require like an integer, and if you give it a double, then it'll really freak out. So let's do affected user, and we're going to do affected user dot text. All right. Affected user email. Edit that. Affected user email dot text. Perfect. Created by name, we've already defaulted. Now for the drop downs, it's different. You're not going to want to use text because that doesn't make any sense, right? So for priority, I was really hoping it would finish that one. There we go. Priority dot selected dot value. There you go. I'll copy that so that I can just kind of paste it in for the school facility. All right. School facility. Oh, it's just school, right? Paste that in there. Perfect. Cherrywood Middle. Everything's looking good. Unlock this last data card and issue dot text. Here we go. So now we have all the fields up here linked to this form. We can just hide the form now. We don't need it anymore. There we go. Oh, sorry. I should have gone over that. All right. Essentially, so now that we've got all these fields over here linked up to this form, we can just hide the form because we don't need the form anymore. So over here under the attribute bar, or you can type in visible up here. In fact, we'll do that. Visible. Over here in the bar, though, it's visible on or off. Up here, it's visible true or false, if you know your bools. They don't like a capital F. So now the form is hidden. Nobody can mess with that. We're going to go up to icons, or sorry, not icons, sorry. We're going to do a button, which is here. I think it's under input as well. Yep, it's the first one in input. And we'll put a little button down here, make it a little bit bigger, big button. And we want to change the text to submit. There we go. We don't need to change the name, but you can if you want. It's important to know. So in the on select for this button, we want to add the formula submit form. Very simple, form 1. Now there's other ways of doing this. You can go about this another way. There's like patch, which like updates, and I believe it also inserts rows into a database. It's more complicated and you have to edit a lot more things. I think creating a form, like an edit form, and then putting this in, just like setting it up like I set it up, or just by putting the form up and then having people submit data is a lot easier. On mobile especially, a form is a lot better than just laying these out sometimes, just because it's easier. Especially if you're going to be adding and removing fields, right? But I will show you how to do a patch function in the edit ticket because I think it's important that you know how to do that one as well. So you do submit form, and then this is important. You'll delimit that there with a semicolon, and then you can put another piece into the formula bar. So I'll expand this just because it's a little bit easier to read. And on the next line, I'm going to do some resets. So a reset. What this does is it resets the field back to a blank value so that the data is not staying there when after you're done submitting the form. Because if you navigate away after you submitted the form, congratulations, but the data is still there. So first, actually, we won't do a reset. We'll do a reset form. Well, form. It will be a reset, but it'll be a reset for the form. So we'll do form 1. And that essentially just gets rid of all the answers in the form 1. So that's good. Now we can do some resets just in general. So the reset function, and then you can just type in issue. And that'll get rid of everything inside the issue text box. And then you can put an ampersand. I think it's 2 ampersands actually. And you can do another reset. And we'll do additional details. Perfect. Now we're going to put a semicolon in there to delimit it, and we're going to do the last function, navigate. My dog is barking. And we're going to want to navigate to home. And we'll do a fade transition. Because fade is fancy. So the navigate will navigate us to home with fade, and that'll be nice. So that concludes this. That should conclude this part of the entire thing here. We have created a ticket ready. It'll take data, submit it to our database, and create a new row in our database. So next we're gonna go back to the home. Oh, I did forget about something here. Sorry. We're going to want to add an icon. I got all wrapped up in data submission, got a little too excited. So I forgot this. We're going to want an arrow left, and we're going to put it up in the left-hand corner, and we're going to want to set that value to back, the back function. We'll also want to set its color to white. Sorry if you can hear my dog yipping away. She yips sometimes when she wants me to play, but I have to work. So that'll do what we want it to do, but we want to change the onSelect functionality also a little bit here. We're going to put a semicolon at the end of that to delimit it, and then we're going to open it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to paste in all of the resets that we did in the previous one inside this one. So I'm going to give you a little background on the back functionality. That doesn't mean go back to the home page. What that means is go back to whatever navigated here. If in this case here, we put this back function. If we hit back, it'll take us back here, but that's only because I hit this to add a new form. If we had instead come down here and clicked on it in the tree and then tried to hit back, it wouldn't work. And you might think that it's broken because of that, but it's not. I just wanted to, I know that was really lengthy and wordy, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to fill you guys in on that, that functionality does have that limitation. Okay, so next down here, we're going to want to add some galleries. So this is the first time we've done that in this app. We're going to add a vertical gallery here. Look at all these lorem ipsums. Oh man, Microsoft loves their Latin, I guess. That's what that is. We're going to get rid of this element here. We'll click on this gallery here, and we want to go over here to data source, and we're not going to select anything. That'll be for later. Fields, it doesn't matter. Here we want to select the layout. This is important. We do want it to just be the title. And it gave us back the little caret again, so I'll get rid of that. All right. So now we have our little data cards here. We are not going to click on the label itself. We're going to click on the data card. And in here it'll say items, custom gallery sample. That's a list. We do not want a list right now of whatever default values that they came up with, aka lorem ipsums. So we're going to type in our own array here like we've done before. Sorry, it's not a list. That was a collection, not a list. We're going to create the values of active ticket. We want to do we'll do resolved and canceled. So now we have active, resolved, and canceled. And if you want to add this later on, you can add like on hover onto these, that it'll kind of highlight it. It's going to take a little too much time to build it, so we won't be able to do it, but I'm just letting you know you can do it. And if you need help doing that, I'll gladly help you out. So over here, we're not going to add icons, sorry. We're going to add another gallery. Click that and just kind of like smash it up against there, snap it. There we go, perfect. And we're going to set the layout here to title, subtitle, and body, which will give us 3 lines. All right, perfect. And we want to bind that up to a data source. So we'll do the test database, test help desk rather. Take a little bit of time here. I'm also going to get rid of these carets. I do not like those carets because people always think you have to click on the caret, but I don't want to get that in people's minds. So we're going to move, as you can see, we've got some data in here. We're going to move this label over a little bit, and then we're going to move all the rest of them over to match that label as well. Now the data is out of whack here. It'll just pull by like name. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to change this from additional details to issue. So this item.issue. That's actually fine, which is funny. And then this one we're going to change to additional details. There we go. So now you get kind of a brief overview of what the ticket is about from just the screen. We're going to click on the card now. Make sure you're not clicking on the labels. Click on the card. And under icons, we're going to go down to the bottom and pick a rectangle again. My favorite shape, apparently. And we're going to smash it down into the corner and then kind of smush it up. Pull it all the way up to the top. Now what that's for is that'll display the status of the ticket by color. So if it's active, it's going to be green. If it's resolved, it's going to be blue. And if it's canceled, it's going to be gray. That's how we're going to set that up. So how we can set that up is by going to fill. And in fill, we want to get rid of that color. It'll be black for a second. If, we're going to want an if statement. And we're going to say this item dot status equals, and we're going to put in active. Then we're going to want green. Oh, we don't have to put it in a string, green. There we go. Another comma. Then this item dot status equals resolved. We'll want to put blue. Another word I don't like spelling. Gray. And you can spell it, I think, with an E too. No? Just gray. All right. And that, there we go. Now those should load in with their beautiful colors. Perfect. All right. Now I forgot to tell you guys to do something on the other screen. So we're going to go back to the, now we're jumping around here a bit. We're going to go back to create a ticket. And I only remembered it because of that coloring thing. We forgot to add status. And by we, I mean I, sorry. I forgot to add status. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to use the tree view to find the form 1. There it is. This is the use of the tree. And then we're going to go to visible and change that back to on. And we're going to want to hit edit fields, add field. And we're going to want to add status onto there. All right, so now it's added status to the bottom. Perfect. So we're going to want to add we're going to just copy over this field actually here. That'll be fine. We'll put it right there. Perfect. And we'll copy this priority and we'll move it down here like that. And we'll change priority to status. And we'll set the default value of this, we'll get rid of that, the hint text, to a string of active. All tickets will be active. Down here in the bottom right, you'll notice this edit button down here, and there's display mode. You'll want to set that to disabled, but we'll do it up here in the attribute bar. You can do display mode, change that from edit to disabled, and that will disable the box so people can't put input into it. And down here in status, we'll want to unlock the card. And I didn't rename that, so we'll want to name this to status. And down here in the card, we'll want to do as the default value status dot text. All right, and then we'll make this form hidden again. And there you go. You've just modified this entire page. So that's kind of handy to know how easy that. So you can see how easy that is with the form. So I think the next thing we really need to do is create a sorting functionality based on what you click on this list. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to onSelect, and we're going to do another if statement. And we're going to say this item dot value equals active. But you want that in a string, not just as active. There we go, perfect. Then you put a comma there, and you can say set filter var to active. There you go. And now you can kind of just, I'm just going to copy and paste this down because it's going to take a bit to do it otherwise. So we'll do that, and we want this one to be resolved and resolved and canceled. I can think of a couple other ways you can do this. Oop. It's trolling me again. I can think of a couple other ways you can do this without setting a var, but this is a good easy way to show you how to do it. So now when you select the filter element over here, it will set the value of filter var to whatever item you selected. Now you can go over here to the click on one of the cards here, this card here specifically would be preferred, and then you can go to items here, and you notice how it says help desk. What that does is just grab the help desk. We're going to want to filter the help desk by what we have selected over on in the left menu there, the filter menu. So what we're going to do is we're going to do filter test help desk where status equals filter var. Now the status inside the help desk should be the exact same value as the tickets are submitted and edited should have, so that the filter var will always be able to pick up on it. The values of these should always equal the value that's in the database, is essentially what I'm saying. So now let's test it. We can go into the user view, click on resolved, and you can see it's loading up here. There we go. Our Larry David ticket's good, and canceled, it works too. So we'll go back to active. There we go. All right, so now we have this set up. I said that we were going to set the default value for the filter list. Let's go back to app here. And after this, we're going to put a semicolon to delimit, and then we're going to set filter var to active. All right. So now when the app loads, it'll set the filter var equal to active, and it'll automatically load up all the active tickets for people to see. All right, now we're going to click on this data card here, and we're going to go on select. Forgot the N. There we go. And we're going to want to navigate again. So we're going to navigate to create ticket. Or no, not create ticket, edit ticket. We've already done create ticket. And we're going to want to do a fade transition. Stick in line. We'll put a semicolon at the end there. That's a colon. That's a colon again. There we go. And we're going to want to set edit record. This is kind of how Microsoft had it set up, so I just kind of stuck with it the entire time. equal to this item. There we go. So now when we click on one of these tickets, it'll take us to the edit ticket screen, which is blank, as you can see. So now let's build the edit ticket screen. Over here, we're going to want to select our header bar, and we're going to select our title, and we're going to change this to edit ticket. All right, and before I forget to do this, like I did last time, let's add in a left arrow. We're going to make that color white. And we're going to go on select, back. Very good. So next, what we need to do is we need to add some labels. Oh yes. We're going to say issue. That'll be the first one with a colon. And we'll want the size to be, I think we did 18. And the font weight to semi-bold. Scoot that over a bit. Then we're going to want to, I'm just going to copy an input. I don't think you guys want to watch me do the radius thing again. I don't want to do the radius thing again. So I'm going to copy and paste that over to here, and we're going to change the name over here to issue detail. There we go. I should take out the S, otherwise I'll confuse myself. Issue detail. Now, we're going to take that out, because this is usually going to be populated, so you don't actually have to keep that in there. And we're going to set the default value of this equal to edit record dot issue. There you go. And so you can see we got second ticket, which is the issue of the ticket that I selected. We're going to paste that down there. We're going to do affected or additional details, because that's what I did before. Copy and paste that. Make this multi-line. Additional details. Details. Oh boy, that doesn't look very good, does it? I'm sure your naming scheme will be a lot better than mine, but I'm going to stick with it for right now. So we've got additional details, and we're going to take out this up here and put in additional details because we don't want issues to be in there. So second test to see if upper is working in SQL query. Very, very good test. So then we're going to do issue here, and we're going to change that to affected user. Copy and paste this in. And we're going to set this equal to affected user. And we're going to take out the hint text if there's any. Nope. And we're going to set this to affected user detail. Let's add in the email. I can just add email to the end of that, which is nice. Email. Email detail. Take off the end there. Perfect. We didn't put an email in for this one, apparently. And then lastly, we want, well, lastly for this column here, we want school. I got to stop hitting enter. And we're going to go back over to the created ticket, and we're going to copy and paste that because it has the array in it already set up and the school names in it. So we'll do school detail. Perfect. And we want to set the default value of that too. Don't forget to do the default value, and that's going to be edit record dot school. School facility. That's what it is. Litty. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to copy this affected user over to here, this affected user label over to here, and we're going to name it priority. Let's get the rest of this over here finished. We'll grab the priority dropdown from over here, and we'll put it from create a ticket and put it into edit ticket. Priority detail. And then default it to edit record dot priority. Help desk priority. Thank you for helping me there. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do is for setting up all these little fields here is we're going to copy the priority column down here, our label down here again. And we're going to copy the actual dropdown itself too. And we're going to name it status detail. And the default up here is going to be edit record.status. For right now, it should be active, I think. All right, so we've got the status default in here. So what we need to do is go to items. We're going to change the array from low, medium, high, and ASAP. We're going to change it to, so this isn't priority. Hold on, I gotta change this. It's confusing me. Status. There we go. Perfect. Change the array to active, resolved, canceled. Perfect. Okay, so now our status is set up and everything's set up here. Awesome. We're returning back the values that were provided in the ticket. Okay, so what we're going to need to do now is set up the patch function. We're going to create a button and we'll call it submit. Very good. And for this button, we're going to want to set some values. So on select, we're going to want to do the patch function. Let me see if I can do this without having to pause the video. Test. I think we have to do a lookup. And we're going to do a lookup to test help desk here. We want to set a condition here. So this is going to be edit record dot, I think we use primary ID here. There we go, equals primary ID. And then we're going to have to put a comma there. And we're going to open and close some curly brackets because it's going to be an object. So we'll close that. Now, the first value to the left will be what the name is in the database. So it'll be issue, will be the first one, followed by a colon, and then we're going to want to put whatever the value we're going to update it to is. So we'll do issue.text. Oh, issue details, detail.text. That's very important. If you do just issue, it'll pull a null value because it's from the create a ticket screen. You put a comma there at the end, and you can do additional details. That is what the field is called, I think, inside the database. We'll see if it's still read after this, and then we can do additional details.text. It doesn't seem to be throwing an error, so we're good. Affected user detail.text. Affected user email. I'll just copy that. Oh, yeah, I'll just do this. Affected user email. Oops. Email detail.text. Forgot the comma. School facility. And we'll want to replace that with school detail. Dot selected dot value. Priority. What's the priority detail? I screwed up here somewhere. It's not priority. Help desk. Help desk priority. After that, it is status. And that is status detail dot selected dot value. That's what it is. Okay. And there you go. Patch function is finished. And that will update the ticket in the database that matches the primary ID of the edit record. So whatever we passed over to the edit detail screen. You can do this in an edit form as well. I've done it before, and it is pretty easy to do, but I felt like showing you how to do the patch function would be useful too. I'm going to actually drag that down so you can get a good look at it right now. You can pause the video. We're going to want to do some finishing touches here. We're going to do some resets. We don't have to do a reset form because we don't have a form for this, so we'll do reset issue detail. And then 2 ampersands. Perfect. All right, so I have just reset all of the values. Moving down here, we're going to do a navigate. And we're going to go to the home screen, and we're going to set the transition to fade as well. There we go. And that should take care of that. Now I'm going to remember to do this every single time you do some form like this. You're going to want to take the resets, and we're going to go up to the back button. We're going to put a colon there, or semicolon there, and we're going to paste that in because we want to make sure that all these fields reset regardless of how we're getting out of this page. So we'll click on that. There we go. We can go down to the phone ticket here, and now we've got phone ticket information all nice and reset from the last one so that none of the fields, if the field is empty, then it'll take information from the previous edit record and populate it. So that's one of the reasons why you want to do the reset. So what we're going to do here is we're going to test this patch function, make sure it's working by adding some additional details to this text. The device will not start. It tried turning off and on again, still won't start. Well, we tried 99.9% of what gets everything working usually. So we're gonna send this over to our tech guy, our tech fixing guy. Send to Jim the fixer. Not in like a mafia sense. Anyway, submit. And we're gonna go to phone ticket again to make sure that it oh, I've got an error. Why did I make an error? Let's see here. I made an error in the formula bar of patch. Oh, I done darned goofed. Which one did I say could only be 100 characters? Is this, it might be the additional details that screwed up. All right, so let's set the max length of additional details to 100. Oh boy, that takes everything out I put in. Okay, that's good. All right, so we're gonna go back here. We're gonna click on this. I can't add more in there, so I'm gonna say send to Jim. And we're gonna see if that works. It's actually functioning. Okay, good. Now it's set to send to Jim. That was a limitation of me setting it up to only be 100 characters in the database. But you can see it functions properly. I would recommend setting it up to 500 or more because people are going to want to type more than 100 characters into additional details. So there you go. That is how you build a simple help desk. This thing is fully functional. Like you can do whatever you want in it now. You can customize it more and add some more levels of complexity that make it just a little bit more special and or geared towards your organization. I'm going to show you a couple little extra features here because I think we do have some more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another rectangle because that I feel like is a good way to conclude. The same way that we started is by adding more rectangles. So let's go to icons, go all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to put in a rectangle. And we're going to make sure that that snaps to the bottom of the filter screen there. I just want to see where it's at so I don't goof around with this for a while. And we're going to put in a label. And in the bottom right hand corner, which is where we're going to put the label, we're going to put the value of this equal to current user. And then we're going to put an ampersand right there, which is a concatenation symbol for PowerApps. I don't know why this is flashing down here. That's weird. And we're going to put current user. All right, and we're going to extend this a bit because people's names can be pretty long, right? There we go. And we're going to set the color of that to be white, so it stands out against the blue background. And we're going to set the font weight to semi-bold. So see, just a few simple steps, and you've already added something that makes it a little bit more special, right? Something that has more information on it. Some people could see, oh yeah, I'm signed in as this person. That's why it's creating tickets for them and not me. Next, we'll want to add maybe you'll want to count how many tickets you have in your current selection. So let's do that. We'll add a text area, we'll do a label. Not a text area, sorry, a label. And we'll label this current. Well, actually, we'll do this. Filter var. And we'll concatenate that onto a space, and then we'll do tickets. T-I-C-K-E-T-S. There we go. Colon, and then put another space. And we'll want to align that to the right, not to the left. Want the color to be white. Oops. We'll want the font weight to be semi-bold because it's in the footer. There we go. I'm trying to snap it. There we go. So now we're going to copy this and paste it down here, and we're going to just snap it onto the side there. And we're going to want to do default, or no, text, sorry. Well, we're already on text. All right, so we're going to get rid of that. And actually, we're going to want to do an align as well. We're going to go left this time. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take the gallery name, which is gallery 2. You can name your gallery whatever you want. And you're going to want to do count rows dot all items. And there you go. But you'll notice we said active tickets. If we switch it to resolved, ooh, I should make that a little bit longer. It will switch to 1. All right, let's make this a little longer so it doesn't stack up on itself because it looks a little goofy when it does that. There we go. So we got canceled tickets 1. Active tickets, it says 1, but it'll update to 3. Now you can make this a little bit faster by putting the data that you get from the database. In fact, I highly recommend you do this, putting the data that you get back from the database into a collection. Now the problem with that is you'll have to add a refresh button up to the top, kind of like this, right? So that you can, when you switch to, you can refresh the data every once in a while if you're, sitting there for a while. If you have it just set up to the live database like this, I'll go to items, then it'll always have the current data. It'll refresh every, like, I think it's like every minute or two. But if you have it in a collection, you'll have to manually refresh it by clicking a refresh button up at the top. Otherwise, it will show data that's old forever because it's stored in a collection. It's not pulling it from the live database. Or if you have like a transition kind of thing, like if you click on resolved, you can have an on select function that also refreshes the current database's data. And it gets rid of that latency. You see how there's like a little bit of latency when you click on canceled to get to that second ticket. If you don't mind the latency, then it's fine. But it does slow it down a little bit when it has to constantly make calls back to the database. Eventually it'll pick it up and it'll be fine. But if you get thousands of tickets back, it's actually a really good idea to just cache all the data that you have and then just update it when you need it so that it's not slowed down by trying to constantly get the data back from the database. Another thing I should talk about here, which has driven me crazy a few times, there is a limit to the amount of results that can be returned back from the database. So the limitation, I think, is set default to 2,000, but I think you can set it up to 5,000 or 6,000 or something like that. What that means is that when you hit 2,000 rows return, it will not return any more rows beyond the first 2,000 it pulled if its filtering isn't properly set up. It'll actually give you an error that says something like limited functionality, or it'll say returns more than 2,000 results, or however much you have it set to. You can't exceed a specific number of results, so they won't let you. So you have to make sure that you've set your filtering up properly to return only the data that you want. Like, let's say we have 300 active tickets and 20,000 rows of data. Well, we only want the 300 active tickets. If you don't set the filtering up right, it'll only return the first 2,000 of the 20,000 rows of data. We don't need to see that. Maybe even like only 2 of the active tickets are in there. So what we need to do is set up a filter like what we did here when we filtered help desk on status bar to filter out most of the data and only return back what we want, like the 3 active tickets in this case from the maybe 9 rows that are stored in the database. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because that's pretty important. You're going to want to make sure that you get your filtering correct. A lot of white pages on Microsoft side that will actually help out with this a lot. And I can answer any questions you have. So please do ask the questions that you need asking. I'm phrasing things so weird. Okay, well that about wraps it up. So I hope you guys found some value in my presentation, and I hope that you take some of these ideas back with you to your districts. Have a great rest of your ACPE and a phenomenal summer when that rolls around. Thank you.